Just 11 days after announcing his third bid for the White House, former President Donald Trump is under fire for having dinner with a well-known white supremacist and Holocaust denier, Nick Fuentes, at Mar-a-Lago. In a statement, the former president said Fuentes was merely a guest of rapper Ye, or Kanye West, who was also at the dinner. Trump concluded the statement saying, quote, "I didn't know Nick Fuentes." Now, he did not denounce the anti-Semitic and racist screeds on which Fuentes has built his entire platform. And frankly, I shouldn't surprise you. We saw the same pattern when Trump wouldn't initially condemn former Klan leader David Duke. He did it after Charlottesville with his "there were fine people on both sides" comments. And he did it when he told the Proud Boys not to stand down, but to stand back and stand by. So here to discuss is my political panel. Tolu Olorunnipa is the White House bureau chief at The Washington Post. Chuck Rocha is a Democratic strategist and host of the Latino Vote podcast. And Rina Shah is a Republican strategist and founder of Relax Strategies. All right, folks. Tolu, I'm going to start with you because Fuentes is a known white supremacist that before this meeting, this dinner, if you will, many people didn't even know his name. Now we are sitting here talking about him. Not just us, many outlets have talked about him. So what do news organizations need to be vigilant of when it comes to these extremist figures, especially going into this 2024 cycle?
That's a great question. It's incredibly important for reporters, journalists generally, to call out people like Nick Fuentes for what they are, not beat around the bush, not mention words that don't specifically identify him as white supremacist, as someone who has engaged in this kind of extremist behavior. And so it is important for us to focus on that and make sure that we're using the right language. Now, it is also important for us to not dwell and not elevate people like that who have meetings with Donald Trump because they want to be in the news, because they want to be elevated, because they want to be in the national conversation. And so it's important for us to call out what happened and then move on and talk about the importance of what it means for a former president to have dinner with a white supremacist and not condemn his views and not remove himself as opposed to associating himself with such views. And so it's important for us to write about what this means for where we are in this country's history, that such a person who not only was the president, could be running for president again, or is running for president again and could be the president again. It's important for us to write about it and talk about it in ways that are responsible.
Spoken like a White House bureau chief, y'all. Look, I agree with Tolu, and I think he's right on the money. But Rina, let me just say this. Donald Trump was having dinner with Kanye West, who brought Nick Fuentes. And I think it's important to note that just a couple of weeks ago, Kanye West was blasted for his anti-Semitic comments. And if it was anybody else who was having dinner with Kanye West this week, we would be talking about the fact that this person had dinner with Kanye West. We'd be asking if they denounce anti-Semitism. We would be asking, if they stand with Kanye. And we would not be talking about the white supremacist plus one.
So I've got a few thoughts on this. Number one, where are the gatekeepers? There are none, it seems, anymore. Also, where did our standards go? Again, there are none anymore. So this demands a public conversation that's not just robust. It is one that should call to the carpet the people that are most guilty of doing the most obscene things. And Nick Fuentes is one of those people. He is a Holocaust denier. In my generation, your generation, Symone, we know this. This was just baked into history class. We know that the Holocaust is real. So I'm one of those people who's never been part of the journalistic corps. But I will say this. I genuinely believe in this country, justice comes along with great journalism. And if we didn't have Twitter to expose the fact that Kanye and Nick Fuentes can waltz right into Mar-a-Lago and say whatever they want to say and do whatever they want to do, we would have no accountability. It is up to Republican leaders, again, to denounce the very underbelly of the party. But will they rise to the occasion? Likely not. So I think it, again, demands us, the public, to do our part and push back, have corporations push back too.
But I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying. And I get the last point I'm going to say on this, and Chuck, if you could quickly respond, but I have heard nothing about the anti-Semitism. I think it is terrible that a white supremacist was able to sit down and have dinner with a former president. But as I just went through before I introduced this segment, it's par for the course for Donald Trump. I think we have to call it all out at the same time. And I think I frankly feel like people need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Did we just forget about the anti-Semitism, Chuck?
You're exactly right. And the point you're making is the most important part of this politically and policy-wise. We can't stand by and let any of this stuff happen and turn our head and go, oh, it's just Cray being Cray. You know how Donald is. He's just a little crazy. He hangs out with the white supremacists. No, we don't allow it. We condemn it. We call it out for what it is. And we say we are better than this as a country. And we will not stand by and let this just go by as another crazy thing Donald Trump has done. This man wants to run to be president. Let him run. But you cannot let him run and be around these crazy folks and not call it out every single day. That's our job.
All right. I want to turn to the events of this last week because not one, but two mass shootings, right, have made national news. They resulted in 11 total deaths. I want to play some comments from President Biden, who is once again calling for Congress to do something. He's calling for an assault weapons ban, something that has happened before, that he intimately was involved with. He pushed for. I want you all to hear this, and I want to get some comments on the other side.
The idea we still allow semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick. It's just sick. It has no social redeeming value.
So banning assault weapons is virtually a non-starter in Congress. It couldn't even get into the last bipartisan gun reform deal, at least for the next 2 years, for sure. So, but again, anything is possible. I don't want to be pessimistic here. Things can happen. Tola, what are you hearing from the White House on what the president's strategy is for calling on the body to ban assault weapons?
They say they continue to be optimistic despite the political realities that you just mentioned. They want to continue to put public pressure on this Congress. They're looking at what happened during the elections and the midterms, where a number of Republicans who thought they would be in Congress are watching from home and realizing that maybe their position on guns was not popular with some of the younger voters who came out in droves and voted for Democrats. And so they're trying to continue to make this a public effort and put pressure on members of Congress, but it is a difficult situation. Republicans are going to be taking over the House, and they do not want to pass any more gun control, gun safety bills. They have made it very clear that they don't want to do that. So it's not yet clear what President Biden is going to do, other than putting pressure on some of these state governors who now in some states have majorities that they didn't have before to try to push laws at the state level, and uses executive authority to try to expand some of the gun safety positions that he has that cannot make it through Congress at this moment.
Rina, very quickly, do you think there are even a handful of Republicans that might vote to ban assault weapons?
Right now, it doesn't seem that it's looking likely, but I know in private conversations, because the ones I've had with them, there are Republican women in the House today that are willing to do something in the next Congress. And look, I can't say anything more than that at this point, except for I know these people are privately saying it. They're mothers like me. I want a country where my babies are safe. I want to go to Walmart in peace the night before Thanksgiving. I can say nothing more except for that my party has blood on its hands. They have to do better, because for 10 years, from 94 to 2004, when we had an assault weapons ban, we saw mass shootings decrease by 70%. We need to look at the empirical data, and we need to remember the words of our founders. Well-regulated militia. Assault weapons do not belong in the hands of civilians. We have to do better as a country. I will hold Republicans to account until the day I die to make sure they do better.
All right, Chuck, I've got 10 seconds. One word to describe what we're seeing from our Republican friends on this fight on guns.
Crazy gonna be crazy. It's coming into a political year. You want to put up or shut up. It's time to get these guns off our street.
All right, Chuck Rocha, Rina Shah, and Tolu Olorunipa, thank you all very, very much.